All right. Welcome back. This is part 2 of our more thematically focused stream, which is the introductory draft lectures on psychoanalysis. I have a couple of points before I go ahead and start with the game, because I'm in kind of a more action-heavy sequence. So point 1, listening back over, I recognize the mic volume was actually a little too loud and the game volume a little too quiet last time, so I've tried to adjust it appropriately. I don't know why OBS was doing the thing it was doing then and not before, so we'll see. Hopefully this will sound better. I gave it a quick test recording. Second, of course it probably strikes listeners as unusual that I'm doing lectures over Twitch. But it's worth asking whether historically the university setting hasn't been quite as appropriate as a context for lectures as before. Lectures have changed in character over time. So up until like the mid of the 20th century, teachers would actually, philosophy teachers would philosophize in front of their students. They would actually do theoretical work, and their students would, watch, more or less, listen. Today, a lot of lectures very much encourage concise note-taking, and the student sort of summarizing the material as information transferred. That's why lectures often, require PowerPoints or depend upon PowerPoints to a greater extent than they ever could have before. So of course, listening to these lectures, you don't have to be taking notes. And actually, the fact that the lecture is immediately durable and preservable in the form of, a YouTube video will make notes more or less pointless. So the point of these lectures is basically to get listeners to think about what the lectures are about. So in this case, to think about psychoanalysis, to think about why the terms of psychoanalysis might need reconsideration. So that's really the only point. Is that people who teach ought to consider other places to teach than just academically. I'm personally psychologically incapable of using the internet for anything beyond teaching. So I don't necessarily. I like to fuck around. I like to joke, right? But the jokes at this point have become pedagogical in significance, because jokes in psychoanalysis often have truth content. Or they do have truth content. Things aren't necessarily funny because they're true. Sometimes they're true because of the way they're funny. So I'm gonna start. Fucks in Bushes was the name of my Khajiit. That was for my test recording, so I'll delete that. Right. I believe I just parted with Boris. Okay. Let's quickly check. I got the fourth and last volume. I believe Boris is gone. Now let's just check. I need to be on one of these upper levels. Ooh. Some good loot. So I learned that spell. I already know that one. Just making sure. Okay, cool. Too heavy. These are the old 2 volumes. let's try it. Let's give it a few tries. I started out real well. Get down to 20 locks, I stop. It's my last lock pick. Alright, I'll come back when I'm not shit at that. Probably won't. Well, at least I have a key to that fucking door. Jesus, buddy. Alright, we're gonna switch to our sword. Clumsy. Messy gameplay. Probably need a stronger healing spell if I'm going to be playing like shit this way the whole game. Oh. Made up some lockpicks. Be a mud crab or something down there. That sounds like a very nice. What's that? I'm not completely sure what a reflect spell does, but it seems like it might be relevant for turning spells back around. Let's see what that does. That guy was a little sluggish in his reply. Okay. I don't know what that wheel did. Oh, that's what that wheel did. I'm planning in a second to actually either start with my... Oh, that goes into some guy's basement. Oh, there you are.
Now that you have all 4 books, You should be able to handle things from here. I'm going to Cloud Ruler Temple. My place is at Martin's side. I'll see you back at Cloud Ruler Temple. Good luck.
This guy's got a lot of trust in me. So, last I left off, I had introduced a couple of the very basic ideas of psychoanalysis. I talked about psychoanalysis and its historical inception. So I mentioned Freud. I mentioned Freud's original case studies, some of his earlier case studies on hysteria. I'll probably actually append this YouTube video with like maybe a short reading list, so that'll include some of Freud's works, but also some articles that I found helpful for understanding this previously. And today, following my explanation of some of these ideas and the general sort of historical overview of psychoanalysis as a, I guess you could call it the science of making conscious, to give it a very succinct, few-word definition. So psychoanalysis in its original inception is a science of making conscious, making the analysand conscious of what had hitherto been unconscious. What I plan to discuss now is the way that the discipline has changed historically, the way that it has actually not been a historically stable practice. And just for a very sort of summary overview or explanation of how something like that could be possible, how could psychoanalysis have been unstable? One thing that's worth considering is actually the psychological constitution of the analysts themselves. So that's one aspect of it. Is that if the analysts aren't themselves, is he alive? Okay, no, he's not. If the analysts themselves aren't transparent to themselves, psychoanalytically, then that leads hypothetically to the possibility that they might have uncomfortable personal insecurities that prevent them from being able to adequately work through those of their patients. Let's see what this door does. So that's one consideration. I'll present it as hypothetical right now, but I will be getting into some more of the specifics of that shortly. Let me just go over here first. And now the other consideration is really that psychoanalysis became possible in the first place on account of a particular historical condition of society. So Freud is really, he's doing these things, he's writing, he's learning from his practice, his clinical practice, in a time where the individual had actually begun to take a very acute historical existence in society in the early 20th century. There's a sort of concept of the individual that actually arises in conjunction with like this historical referent, this kind of society that is producing the individual. The individual becomes someone who... Sorry, one second. Okay, I don't know what the fuck that wheel is doing. So another way to put this actually is that the concept of individuality itself is historical. The emphasis wasn't always on the individual as a moment of society. and societies that had, I guess, previous shapes and forms in history, the individual wasn't quite. It didn't lead a separate existence out of society in the way that individuals nowadays do. Let's go. I feel lost. So what it means actually to be an individual, or really the fact of there being an explicit category of individuals at all, is really something that takes shape historically. It takes shape in society. So this really means that it's worth considering concretely two things: whether psychoanalysis as a clinical discipline has an object that goes beyond simply the formal discipline, what Freud was formally establishing. So it's worth considering whether other individuals have told us things about psychoanalysis, whether by their writings, their other kinds of work they did, or their own psychological constitution. So we can't just see Freud as operating here in a vacuum. Let me get the fuck out of this tunnel. So that's one thing to consider. And then the other thing to consider is actually what would have made psychoanalysis possible then, as a formal clinical discipline when perhaps it hadn't been before. And this is what actual changes wrought by civilization can start to tell us, is that civilization historically has come with something of a price for those involved. The increasing sort of social and technological mediation of our society, all throughout history, has come to take a psychological toll on the individual, which individuals wouldn't necessarily have been conscious of. Civilization is kind of the longue durée of historical repression. It's the way that we necessarily forget things in order to continue to reproduce civilization. And the Freud, of course, does construe this in terms of civilization. He writes about, for example, civilization and its discontents. It is worth considering whether there's something more specific going on than just civilization, right? Whether we can really parcel this up historically into separate, into distinct. Oh, what happened? Okay. The parallel's broken. I hope it's not too broken. So it's worth considering whether really it's exhausted by the category of civilization, right? Whether there might have been changes within civilization that led even to the possibility of understanding this repression. Right? So that's another consideration. Where was I? Right. Let's check which of my armor has been damaged. So those are just some basic things I wanted to bring to the listener's attention. It's my cat grieves. And I cannot repair them. No, I don't. Okay, it's not my cat grieves. Those are just some basic things I wanted to bring to the attention of the reader, the listener, sorry, force of habit. Oh, shit. So psychoanalysis is a discipline that arose historically. It has potential prior precedent, not only within psychology, but just socially. Let's see. It's worth considering why psychoanalysis would have arisen in the time that it did. And this is all to sort of give us a general impression of what it would mean for the terms of psychoanalysis themselves to have changed. and actually potentially for the terms of that change not to have been quite conscious. Okay, so I'm having to solve some dumb puzzles. What's going on, I think. And it's hard to solve a puzzle at the same time as talk about psychoanalysis, so I thought this was going to be easier than it turned out to be, to just get the fuck out of this place. And I did bring up the sort of hypothetical example of the analyst projecting upon the analysand, the analyst's own psychic constitution becoming an obstacle. But this isn't really the only problem, and it's actually not one that psychoanalysts would have been as willing to consider as the other, which would be countertransference. And what countertransference basically is it's the way that the analysand might be psychologically regressed, that is, psychologically set back and damaged to such an extent that they have trouble actually engaging in the normal, like, sort of terms of the relationship with the analyst. They might be reenacting, for example, their own, society calls it mommy and daddy issues. They might be reenacting their own mommy and daddy issues with the analyst instead of actually making a good faith effort to change. Okay. So it's worth considering not only... Where the fuck am I? I need to figure this shit out. I need to get out of this place, really. I'm just gonna go backwards. So the individual is something that takes shape historically. The individual can be changed by society. And it really becomes ultimately worth considering the extent to which psychoanalysis has regressed. Which is to say, not only the analysands, but also the analysts might actually have lost, without knowing that they've lost, the capacity to work through some of these issues. So that's kind of the idea I wanted to introduce. And those are the kind of general overviews of the concepts that lead into the introduction of that possibility. So the question then becomes why? How could psychoanalysis have gotten worse? How could it have regressed in a way we failed to see? Why would it have been plausible that this happened? And this is actually the sense in which we do have to be careful about, treating the category of civilization as one sort of unified, monolithic category, as conditioning psychoanalysis. Because truly, changes within civilization can condition psychoanalysis. And it's worth asking, why now? Right? When we go back into the early 20th century, that is, it's worth asking, why now? What made psychoanalysis possible then? This is starting to suck, this fucking dungeon. Are we seriously going back and forth? I hate this. I now hate this. Alright, let me figure out this. I think that's a good brief stopping point while I figure out how to get out of this fucking place. That might be relevant. Those doors up there. I don't have very good visual intelligence or memory, if that was not clear. God fucking damn it. I am so lost. So terribly lost. Okay, let's try to be a little more systematic. Explore this room. Oh. To the southwest tunnel. Sure. Now we are... I should have read what that was. Oh. Dumb goblin. Probably use that steel bow. Drop my iron bow. Okay. 52, so it's not that door. Let me check where that door goes, nonetheless, before I go further down that direction. I hear combat music. Opened remotely. Oh, there we go. Seems relevant. The fuck? Are you okay, bro? Oh, okay. I need to put this guy out of his misery. Oh, yeah. I can see you there. There we go. Felt bad for him. Okay. Saving. So we're getting near the solution to this fucking bullshit. I'm just retreading the same ground. I really do feel like I'm starting to feel the fatigue over these dungeon designs being procedurally generated. There aren't that many distinctive ways to work out the. Also, the same combat music has been playing. Maybe. Oh, that's cool, I guess. I really wish these external mediations aren't so tiresome right now. Oh, okay, Mudcrab's following me. Where are you guys? Where am I seeing you? Okay. Alright. So we return. We go back this way. That guy seems like he was waiting for me to come back. And we're back to where we started. Okay. I'm gonna die in this dungeon, aren't I? Is there a local map I can access? I've honestly not been able to figure that out yet. There we go. Just gonna scroll in. Yeah, I should have done this a while ago. I could potentially go around this way. Just need to find the right door. Okay, so I'm gonna turn right around this tunnel. Now I go through. It's kind of inconvenient to do that every time. Alright, now this would seem to be a place that, according to that map, might be accessible. The other one would be behind me. No, so that's not a way there. So I guess I'll have to go back the other way. So this is the real experience of Oblivion. Let's see, is there a... Okay. I can get up there. I'm gonna go through there. And I've also there's just been fight music playing this entire time. Because I made the mistake of not just killing someone when I should have. Okay, we're gonna have to go all the way back through then. Oops. Smells down here. I need some fresh air. Okay. Then we go left, hopefully. Yep. Activated. Okay. So, wait, this is just going to lead me right back to the base. Am I really going to have to get... Is that what this whole dungeon has been leading to? Is that guy's fucking... very hard to pick basement? Fuck. I think I'm just going to try another door then. See if the marker doesn't change to lead me back to the same starting point, which I hope it doesn't. Because the southwest, those both go to the southwest tunnel, so I might as well just pick one. Well, at least my acrobatic skill increased. I've been running around like a fucking jackass. Okay, southwest tunnel over here. Now we're going to see where this leads. Next marker. Okay, so it's taking you back to the simple temple sewers. So it's just going to try to lead me back out through that way, but if I try to... Let's see... There's the southwest tunnel. There's another basement. I think I'm going to go through the other basement. I think that might be the basement from which I originally entered this place, so... You know, I don't appreciate the design of this walk I can do. I do not appreciate the design of this dungeon. Not at all. I'm too bad at it. Oops. Oh, trespassing. Probably don't want to be caught doing that, do I? Alright. Any skills that might come in handy? Let's see. Sure. There, just made it. Okay, I've escaped. That was a pain in the ass. Let's find something else to do for a little bit. Let's stop with the main quest for a second. I've hit a good stopping point. I'll need to level up soon. Let's work on the Mage's Guild for a little bit. Let's slow down. We're gonna go to Brayville. I don't know what the fuck it's called first. And on the way, we're gonna talk about our second part. So I've talked about.
It's you, the hero of Kvatch. This is truly an honor.
It's you, the hero of Kvatch.
I'm your
This
relief.
is truly an
It's
honor.
about time. I'm your relief.
Well, I'm finally glad to be getting some notice around here. All right. One moment. Okay, let's get back to it. We're going to be crossing, and we're going to be turning left, I believe. Yes. Just gotta get past this body of water. So I've talked about psychoanalysis as being a historically variable or unstable practice. I've been painting with a kind of broad stroke of the brush here. The reason for that is actually that it wasn't something I was specifically prepared to talk about. So I might return to some of the more historical discussion later in a future stream. But I feel like what I've said so far should at least open up the idea that psychoanalysis is a historically conditioned practice that wasn't always formally constituted and might have changed. And it might have changed on account of changes in society. So I mentioned problems of countertransference, and I mentioned additionally problems of even potentially the regression of the analysts themselves, which like basically from the start would foreclose anything. So it's worth considering the actual mediations of individuals being made less conscious in society, right? Being psychologically regressed by society, because that would be the start of an appropriate dynamic explanation of how these terms have changed, have gotten worse, have disguised the way that psychoanalysis actually has become less helpful. So this is where we kind of have to start to break up the category of civilization. So it's going to seem perhaps like I'm veering a little bit historically off topic, because civilization is a very long time. It's several thousand years in the making, and it has precedent and prehistory. And the vast majority of I didn't need to do that. What did I do? Okay, I'm killing minor wounds. As long as I'm not using another scroll I need, it's fine. So civilization, really, the time scale of it is vast, and a lot of the most accelerated social changes on a mass scale have taken place actually relatively recently, considered from the standpoint of civilization's time scale as a whole. So we have the couple or more tens of thousands of years in which humankind arose as a social species spontaneously, and then you have the consolidation of this sort of spontaneous organization, the state of nature perhaps, into actual big civilizations. And you have these civilizations themselves experiencing catastrophes and crises and trauma. And eventually you have something like modern society, modern commercial bourgeois society, bourgeois referring to the town. Right? So towns dwelling society. Which is a relatively recent development. Like, we can really trace it sort of towards the beginning of the disintegration of feudal society via world trade, which Adam Smith writes about very clearly in Wealth of Nations. Broadville, that's the way we're going. So we really only get something like a society conscious that it is a society that knows itself to be a society in the past several hundred years or so. And in the past couple hundred years, we really get industrial production in society. We get capitalism. Right? So it's very important to keep apart capitalism and society. When Marx writes about capitalism, he's referring to specifically what he would call big industry capital. So machine production, making labor simultaneously unnecessary and necessary, or necessary and impossible, right? So machine production obviates labor. It creates unemployment as an endemic condition of society. There's a necessity to unemployment in society. That's why, Frederick Jameson has that quote that capital is a book about unemployment. Right? Oh, here's some Nern root. Oh. Excellent. I get to learn about Nern root. So civilization really has to be disambiguated into the sort of longue durée of consolidation of these ancient spontaneous human societies on one hand, and then the very rapid acceleration of that change in the past couple hundred years, especially considering, industrial production capital. So when Smith writes about capital, he's not writing about it in the same way that Marx is. He's actually assuming a sort of assembly line process of manufacture that became historically obsolete for the biggest industries by Marx's time.
Showing your face was the last mistake you'll ever make.
Where are you? Oh. Honestly, I feel like I wasn't showing my face to you that much.
You'll never take me down.
Just did. Alright. Because if you really think, if you think about it, like psychoanalysis isn't just a function. I mean, it's not just conditioned by civilization, but by capitalism. So this is kind of what I was getting at, is that civilization on the whole has been a sort of act of historical repression mediated with the individual. The individual had to actually repress, had to change their own psychic constitution to adapt to civilization, right? And this is something with writings and precedent far before Freud. Rousseau talks about it. Discourse on the Origin of Inequality. I need to drop some weight. Just gonna eat some corn. Eat some random crab meat. Sure. Okay. So the question is, what happens when society is changing so dynamically, and that change is so thoroughly mediated with the individual as it is in capitalism, that we can actually start to become conscious of this sort of repression as being a continually changing process. Right? And Freud, of course, it's always written. I mean, it's important to note that Freud was really talking about a specific kind of Viennese society. Now, when a lot of people mention that with regard to Freud, they actually treat it as a sort of a sense of the total obsolescence, the irrelevance of his ideas. But I don't think that's how it ought to be considered. What it really means is that Freud's study of the sort of, I guess you could say, middle class Viennese individual, it does have mediations with how we act, right? With how our own psychology is constituted, but we can't just straightforwardly map it, right? We have to understand the differences as well. Kill this conjurer who sucks. How do you feel that well? You have so many arrows in you. Are you wearing an arrow-proof vest? Okay, so what was I on about? I was talking about how psychoanalysis was really kind of the dawning awareness of the extent of repression enacted by civilization at the turn of the 20th century. And it's possible for such a dawning recognition actually not to be appropriately followed through, to be forgotten, right? Because society can continue to repress people. Today's society really even represses the sense of our own repression. So it outwardly claims to be, liberated, to be relatively free, and the way that we choose to behave, and the things that we choose to, the shit we choose to get into, right? The porn we watch, for example. But what this does is it actually disguises the even more thoroughgoing sense of our repression. And it's why psychoanalysis, as perhaps today a less well constituted discipline, has grown historically even more relevant. Because it helps us pose the question: what happens when we are repressed to the extent that we can't even admit that something might be wrong. Right, so I mentioned hysteria in my previous part. And it was very clear, in the historical instance of hysteria, what was wrong. Is that these patients were having physical symptoms, and the goal was to understand how those symptoms were psychologically mediated, mentally mediated. Oh. This guy seems like he's got some size to him. You have 2 Minotaurs. Yeah, I don't want to get within too close distance of him. It's a bit of an intense fight. There we go. Hold on. Alright, I believe I was getting some internet connectivity issues there for a moment. Anyway, I was talking about how the conditions of possibility for psychoanalysis, what actually makes psychoanalysis possible to be historically constituted as a discipline, can also undermine the discipline, if not appropriately grasped, if not mediated well. So this is kind of what has happened in capitalism. We got another one right here. See if I can. Where's that landing? I can't really. There we go. Ooh, nice. Excellent. These guys are dicks. This is just a unicorn. I get to ride the unicorn? Sounds a little too good to be true. Why do I look like this? Am I still chameleoning? Okay. Ooh. Wait, what? 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 I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I did nothing. I feel like there's a thing about this unicorn, though. Okay, this unicorn is strong. Well, it was fine. I mean, I thought we had a thing going. Like, I didn't think... I'm sorry if I offended you. Shit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen an article about a guy getting chased by a unicorn for the whole game, so... I'm also getting some fucking frame drop. Alright, oh, okay. No effect. Okay, so he might only be affected by magical damage. I hate this. I hate this. Are you just gonna keep coming after me? Okay, I'm gonna go this way. feel like I fucked up.
Have pity on an old war veteran.
No, just wait there for the unicorn. Okay. I feel like this remaster is not very... How do you know me? Oh, okay. Well, let's do this quest for a bit then. Oh, here we go. Some more bad poetry. A shy Dunmer, familiar with fire, who can guide me to the pyre. I should head towards the nearest inn to try to find her.
No wonder odd things are happening there. Good day.
Ooh, we got a new... That's a good emoji.
Greetings.
Is that available generally via Twitch, or is it like I guess I'm sure there are stream specific emojis, right? Okay. Let's go. Lonely Suitor Lodge. Sounds like just my place. It's Twitch in general. Okay.
Greetings, Dunmer.
The prey approaches.
You got some nice armor, buddy.
Yes.
Good deal.
You too.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Morning.
How do you do?
Hail.
I'm trying to
Baron
talk to you.
Vamori seems very glum lately. I guess things aren't going well with Ardeline.
What's the news from the other parts of Tamriel?
Nothing I'd like to talk about.
He's not here.
Apparently, some fool tried to resurrect the Crimson Scars.
I hear you.
Heard any news from the other provinces?
Bye.
What a stilted conversation.
Hi.
What?
What's going
Hi
on?
there, I'm Bogrum Brokalish, your host at the Lonely Suitor Lodge. It may not look like much outside, but that's just the weather. Ravel look.
A shy Dunmer. Could it be Ranaline that you're looking for?
Yeah, I had to restart. I got some sort of like, I mean, I still have the recording available, but I got some sort of clip in my internet. I also got chased by a unicorn, and I've heard that's not a good thing. I don't want it chasing me the whole game. Because it started attacking me. Yeah, I think it's because I pulled out a weapon, just looking it up. And I don't want it to be chasing me the entire game, as I've heard it sometimes does. Because that will actually interfere with the quality of my
I
lectures.
saw a mud crab.
If I'm getting chased by a unicorn trying to talk about psychoanalysis. There's one unicorn, I had to kill a bunch of minotaurs to get to it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll try riding it. What the fuck? Hold on, I'm going to check to see if it's still out there. It didn't follow me into the city as far as I can tell. But it does attack, and I don't think it... I think it might be completely immune to non-magical damage as well. And I do not have the kind of magicka to really do much of a dent in its health at the moment. So I just suck too hard to kill this guy. But yeah, I shouldn't have had my weapon out. I wouldn't have known. I really wouldn't have known.
Spare a coin.
Yeah, the unicorn was like, psychoanalyze this dick. And I can't. It might just be waiting for me across this bridge. Oh, there it is. Okay. It's friendly now. I think it's when I pull out a weapon. Excellent, okay. As long as I don't have it, I'm going to leave the unicorn alone. I'm not going to bother the unicorn. But yeah, so what I was talking about in the stream, I talked about... I kind of summarized and generalized from the discussion I already did of psychoanalysis as a historical practice, and I emphasized that psychoanalysis can change. Right, that the very sort of historical conditions that make it possible were also what made it unstable as a discipline. And I moved on into the sort of much more sort of, 1,000-foot view of history, because psychoanalysis sort of really takes as its own possibility the repression sort of enacted by civilization, right? So, for example, Freud doesn't think that ancient indigenous people were really psychoanalyzable in quite the same way. But I was trying to draw attention to the distinctions within civilization itself, because we have the ancient civilizations. We have the sort of collapse of ancient civilization, which is really just kind of, from the beginning, it was collapsing. We have the culmination of that collapse, basically, in the feudal era. And then we have the actual disintegration of feudal society out of commercial society into commercial society. And then we have the intensification of commercial society, which involves a kind of crisis in industrial production and capitalism. The basic point I was trying to work towards is the way that capitalism is actually it produced psychoanalysis as a science of making conscious, but it also sort of seems to have swallowed up psychoanalysis at the moment it produced psychoanalysis. So it did not seem it seemed to threaten it seemed to under the way that it made psychoanalysis possible was also the way that it ultimately undermined psychoanalysis. So I was going to move on to talk about psychoanalysis and Marxism. But before that, I actually have to talk about Marxism a little bit. So this lecture is going to be a little more apparently tangential than the other one. And this lecture series probably won't be over after this is done, because this is really just a lot of lectures on psychoanalysis right now. I'll probably take breaks from this topic because I don't want to be only talking about it. Oh, Jesus, shut up! Shut up! All of you, shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
I avoid those things whenever I can. Horrible creatures.
Shut up!
Bye.
Good day.
Are you okay? I need to talk to you.
I cook at the Lonely Suitor. You found the notes, you share our vision. But I did not survive this long by being trusting.
Okay.
Excuse me, I stay to myself. I have always found the wrong sort of friends. Now I do without.
What do I gotta do?
Yes?
What do I gotta do to make this bitch like me?
Gracious, what a hero. Don't try to manipulate me. That's just stupid. You win this one.
Okay.
Not now. You think that's funny? That's enough. I salute you. What? No, that's just... I can't... I salute you. Most impressive.
I feel like I'm very bad at this.
That's just... What nonsense. That's enough. I salute you. Most impressive.
Alright.
That's just not... I salute you. I can't argue with... Don't talk such rot. Don't... That's... I can't... Such adventures. Sorry.
So is my quest just blocked until I can make this person like me?
Be seeing you.
What do you want me to do? Get really good at doing tricks with the slinky. I'll just give her more money.
What can I do for you?
You can take this money.
So, you found the notes you shared.
Well, you struck me a little
listening.
more trusting.
Not enough. That's enough. That's amazing. Are you serious?
Is that it? You know, fuck this quest.
Be seeing you.
This game has been antagonizing me since I turned it on this evening. I got lost in the sewers
What's going on with you?
They say syndicates of wizards have...
for a long time. Okay. Let's do my Mages Guild shit. That'll be a little less frustrating, I hope. I might take a break in just a moment. I'll just be down, like, I'll be grabbing something for a few minutes. I'll be right back. Here we go. Where were we? We're doing Mage's Guild quests. We're moving away from the main quest for a bit. I never want to be in a sewer again at the moment. Dox myself accidentally what way? Oh, you could hear me talking. Okay. Yeah, I mean I cut out my breaks on YouTube, but you're right that if okay, I need to change my quest actually. You're right that if I have actual viewers, I should be careful. Maybe I'll just mute my mic. But yeah, I was basically doxing both of us actually. So my bad. It won't be on YouTube. What the hell? What was that all about? What is up with this shirt, this pink shirt I keep seeing that the cannibals were wearing in an earlier stream? I hate it. It's just fucking...
Eaterianus spells, recharging and training in mysticism. And idle chatter. At your service.
Sounds like you're lonely.
Delphine can get you a spell to summon bound armor if you're interested. And if you're able, of course.
Is that it? Let's see
Have a
what
look
spells
around.
you've got.
You won't find better prices in all Tamriel.
He got better healing spells. That's kind of my main. Because the way I play this game, that is like shit. I'm gonna need a lot of healing.
You too.
I might also need to find a repair person to get my cure ass
Apparently
back.
some fool tried to resurrect the Crimson Scars and Deep Delphingent,
There we go.
creator of the celebrated Enemies Explode spell, advanced trainer in destruction, and mage destined for great things.
A resident local blowhard.
It's my job to help people learn the proper constructive use of destruction magic. And let's face it, blowing things up can be ever so much fun. Have a look at my wares. I'm sure there's something to suit you.
Ooh. 774. What a spell. What a spell. This looks, yeah, this looks similar to the shock spell I have. I think I want that. Alright, we're gonna need two spells. We're gonna need Flash Bolt and Heal Major Wounds. Really, I'm pretty meat and potatoes with my
Thank
magic.
you for your patronage.
Pink stands for please, I need kidneys. I don't. This person wasn't a cannibal. It just seems like a bad outfit that the select few NPCs have.
Good afternoon.
Have you heard about that ghost of the old man that looks out into Nibbin Bay each night? They're calling him the Forlorn Watchman. Spooky.
Oh, that's so spooky. All right, let's see if I can make it up here.
Greetings, Danya.
Okay, you don't have the same kind of shitty.
Your friendly guild alchemist. Satisfaction guaranteed. No free samples.
Why do I feel like there's some weird,
I don't know much about that ghost, but
reverb.
some say he died in a horrible shipwreck. I would stay away from him if I were you. Bad omen. Each night he wanders the shore of Nibbin Bay. Then he stops and looks mournfully out to sea. If you're interested, you may want to see Gilgandra at Silverholm on the water. When it comes to local legends, he's the best source in town.
Okay.
I'm just here doing research. If you need...
I'm looking for a recommendation, man. I'm trying to network here, and you guys just keep talking about some ghost ass. Trying to add you guys on LinkedIn. is reminding me too much of how I got laid off. Alright, so that goes back to the same. Is there a third floor?
How are you today?
Okay, that was too loud. Too excited. I do believe I need a recommendation of some sort from a mage in this guild. How else am I going to get access to the arcane library? Whose bed is this? Mine, I guess. I should level up. I don't want to take a 1 hour nap. I'll wake up to dazed. I don't know what I'm doing with these. I honestly don't know which skills mediate which actual actions in game. I've never learned. This game actually doesn't have quite as quite an intuitive leveling process in UI as Skyrim, which was part of the reason, you know, they made all those changes in Skyrim. But it's definitely it's on the way up from Morrowind. Although that said, I feel like the level of like the extensiveness of the features, the leveling features in Morrowind, actually did make the game a little more transparent. It was just also kind of clunky and tedious at the same time. Whereas I feel like they subtracted a lot of features from Morrowind, but didn't exactly make clear what it was they were keeping here. Alright, okay, I need to talk to this person, I think.
Hey, hello there, associate. You're here for a recommendation, I presume. Are you prepared to earn it?
Yes. I'm ready.
I'm afraid I haven't had time to prepare anything conventional. I'm very preoccupied with this situation concerning Ardeline. Perhaps you can help with that, however. I can't directly get involved for fear of embarrassing the poor girl. I'll need you to have a little chat with Varen Vamori, and you can learn something about the power of illusion in the process.
Who's Arlene?
Don't say anything to her. I don't want to embarrass her further. Once this is all taken care of, I'll speak to her privately. The Council of Mages meets there in the Imperial City. That's where the real power of the guild lies. If you do what you need to, you'll get there one day. Just don't forget to help those who have aided you on your way. Are you so eager to begin? Very well. We can start if you feel you are ready.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I haven't had time to prepare.
Right.
Perhaps you can help with that, however. I'll need you to have a little chat.
Varen Vamori. Okay, sorry. I'm
Please,
having you remind
I'm
me
in
what to do.
desperate need of help, and I think you're the only one that I can turn to.
Yes,
An honor, to be sure. I understand Tadros Hellas has more
NPCs
jobs
place their
than she knows what to
trust
do.
in total strangers in
She's
this
very
game.
eager to help out her guild.
Well met. She probably takes on more than she should. Between smithing and training, she's always hard at work.
Farewell.
Hail!
You guys suck. You have no idea how to sustain conversations. You're worse than me at it. I should, next event I go to, I should just come loaded with, like, individual pieces of gossip about a few different people. And those can be the only things I'm allowed to say. And then eventually I just spontaneously say farewell. I talk like an Oblivion NPC in real life. Did I begin a quest yet, or...? What we got?
Hail.
So I need to go back. Apparently this quest marker isn't going to tell me where the guy I need to talk to is, because it's a multi-marker quest.
Well met.
Let me try to make it back towards the area of the Mages Guild.
I'm listening.
Nice looking little town.
Are you ready to earn you? I'm afraid perhaps I'll need you to have a little...
Okay, so he must be here.
I'm in desperate need of help, and I think you're the...
Varden
You hear any
Lamori.
word about Kudai's friend? She's offering a generous reward, so hopefully someone will show up and lend a hand.
No doubt.
What's the news from the other parts of town?
What would happen if I tried to kill
I have
everyone
heard
here?
things.
I'd probably die quite quickly.
Are bad
so
in
I guess it
Varden
won't
town.
take up too much of the stream.
What's going on? Violence! Help!
What was that about? What? 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 No. Don't auto-load me out. Okay. I didn't just want to kill one of them. I wanted to kill all. That guy was pretty
What's the
squishy.
news from the other parts of Tamriel?
I have heard things are bad in Varden town. The Telvanni do their best to
What's
close
the
gates,
red cursor on my...
but it is to
what the-
no avail.
Do I have an
This
enemy?
is unbelievable. How can the gods let this happen?
Good day.
Good day.
Okay, yeah, I really do feel like Skyrim improved the Radiant AI with Skyrim is a lot better than this shit. Okay, that might have just been an accident. Let's find Varden Vamorias.
Hello.
How are you today?
Where are you, bitch? Upstairs? I mean, I hope he's in here. If he's not in the Mages Guild Hall, I don't know where else I would find him in this town. I don't want to stoop to the level of, like, looking things up on the Oblivion wiki. You know, given how early I am in the game. There's definitely a greater degree of tedium involved in navigating the world of Oblivion than Skyrim. Okay.
Greetings.
Oh,
Apparently some fool tried to resurrect the Crimson Scars in Deep Scorn Hollow. The Dark Brotherhood will not...
I'm Ardeline. I'm the Guild's advanced trainer in alchemy here in Bravil. Hood-Eye is a member of Bravil's Mages Guild. She put the word out that a good friend of hers went missing. She's offered a reward, but as far as I know, nobody's taken her up on the offer. Not sure who's missing either. She's keeping quiet about it. I suppose if you're interested, you could head over there and ask Hood-Eye yourself.
okay.
Bye. Have you heard any word about the other provinces?
They say
Hello,
that King
associate.
Halsa has made an alliance with House Dress.
Yes?
Together they pick apart the...
Are you ready to earn your recommendation now?
Yeah, I feel like I've
I'm
been
afraid
ready.
I haven't had time. Perhaps you can help with that, however. I can't directly get involved for fear of embarrassing the poor girl. I'll need you to have a little chat with Baron Ramori, and you can learn...
Okay, there we
I
go.
don't understand it. Some ridiculous male thing, I suppose. He's been bothering Ardeline every day for a while now. He even stole her mage's staff. Perhaps he thinks it's amusing. I don't know. But it needs to stop. It's making her miserable.
Okay.
It's more symbolic than practical, but each carries great significance to its owner. You're going to get Arteline's staff back. Take this charm scroll. With it, you should find Varon more receptive to questioning. Don't come back without that staff.
Finally.
It
Okay.
seems that these are turbulent times, the
I
man.
forgot that I can scroll down to see more dialogue options. That's what I was tripped up on. Okay. Where are we? In Braville. We're going to be talking about Marxism shortly.
How are you?
I've been a little hesitant to just dive right in because I'm unsure of the generality of this discussion. That I want this discussion to take independently of psychoanalysis. But I was really hoping to locate the point at which Marxism becomes interested in psychoanalysis.
Excuse me, my lady.
As a way of understanding how the actual conditions of possibility for socialist politics come to be eclipsed as well. Because these are related, these are mediated with each other, the way that both psychoanalysis and politics had come to seem impossible in the 20th century. But it's occurring to me the more I think about it. What we got? No. Okay. Gotta go back. So I'm currently kind of like turning around in my mind the extent to which I want to
Excuse me, my lady.
just gloss this and move on, or actually pursue it as concretely as possible. And right now I'm also... Hi there. I'm also just trying to enjoy the game, which has made it a little difficult for me on account of how bad I am at it. Apparently.
Greetings.
Greetings. What kind of door are we looking for here? 15. Why does not the distance change? Let's does it spit me right back out?
Well met.
No.
Hey.
Hail who? What was that scream I heard at the end? Okay. Yeah, I do believe this lecture series or whatever I want to call it. Why does it keep saying 15 meters? Like I'm changing it. Hold on. Okay. This lecture series is definitely going to be more intensive than I had. I mean, I guess I knew that it would consist of at least one lecture.
Oh, hello.
And then in the middle of that first lecture, I decided that I was at least going to have to split it up into two. And now I feel I'm thrown back on the original sort of structure I was going for, which is to figure out how many lectures this is going to take, to figure out the extent to which I'm actually going to want to concretize some of the other stuff, the Marxism, right, as preparation for further discussing psychoanalysis. So I might just end up calling this part 1.5 and table part 2 for a later time, probably the next stream or a subsequent stream. It might be a little more spontaneous for the moment. If I can find where the fuck this guy is. Why does it keep saying 15 feet away? Okay, what's that about? Why is there a green guy right here? I see it. Yeah, I see a green guy. And then over here, there's a red guy. What's the deal with that? Alright, let's Let's try a different quest for a bit. The Forlorn Watchman quest. And yet, now I'm missing a cursor. You know, I wish there were either cursors that worked, as in Skyrim, or no cursors, as in Oblivion.
Hello there.
And navigating was actually a task that the player had to explicitly learn. Which kind of sucked for me because I'm bad at it in real life too. I got lost in a bush gardens once. It's hard to get lost in a bush garden, so I actually take that as credit to my intelligence. What is going on? What is going on with this game? How long does it take to load this shit, huh? Huh? What are you loading? The world's biggest gun? I do hope I remember to skip this part in the YouTube recording. You know, I might pause this stream for now. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna come back at a later time. This game has been making me upset today in a way I wouldn't have expected it to. I'll be back.